Hey folks, Rich here at RCINFORMER.com. Thanks for checking out this video on the F4U CORSAIR from FlyZone. This is the first FlyZone airplane I've done a review of, so I'm pretty excited to kind of see what's inside the box. This is their select scale Tx-R, and I'll zoom in here for you. What that means is transmitter ready, and what that means is this plane actually already includes a receiver in it. So, you know, not only does it have the motor, the speed controller, the servos installed, lights, retracts, it also has a receiver. So it is ready to go on any tactic radio or any other radio that you might have. And as you can see right here, designed to work with any Futaba, High-Tech, JR, and Spectrum system, as long as you buy the AnyLink system to go along with it. So it's pretty nice that now we have airplanes that you can buy that are transmitter ready like this, that all you have to do is add whatever transmitter that you have. No need to buy a new one. In addition, I'm going to be dividing up my videos into 3 parts just to make it a little easier to see. So this video is going to show you really the contents of the box and a thorough review of the parts. And then you can look for the other videos that will be out that you can click on. I'll put a link at the end of this video that you can take a look at, that you can click on, and it'll take you to the flying video and the building and sort of build guide tips portion of the video series on this plane. Anyway guys, without further delay, let's open up the box and see what's inside. Alright guys, as you can see from this shot, the box opens up real nicely. There's 2 tabs, one here and one over there, that open the box up nicely to reveal the contents of what's inside. No foam packaging in here, which is actually a little better for the environment, not to have all that foam going into dumps and so forth. But real heavy-duty instruction manual, and you can see everything here is individually bagged or individually wrapped, I should say, with this bubble wrapping material. So everything will come out of here real nicely. Let me go ahead and get all the parts out, lay them out for you, and we'll take a closer look at them. Here's the layout of all the parts that came out of the box. Everything looks like it's in pretty nice shape. Everything was packaged well and protected pretty decently. You can see here there's only a few parts to put this thing together. At the top we have the fuselage. We've got the whole wing segment that has the servos, retracts, lights. Everything is installed already, so you really just need to sort of plug this thing in and go. You can see the elevator and horizontal stabilizer, the vertical stabilizer and rudder. Everything's all hinged with foam hinges and actually backed up with like a little CA hinge kind of along each hinge. There's several CA hinges in them. Also the propeller with a fairly scale hub. The prop's a 2-bladed prop instead of a 3 or 4, but when it's spinning you really can't tell the difference anyway. But they do have a nice scale hub on there to give it a little bit of realistic, a little bit more realistic look. There's also a bag here with some screws and some Velcro for your batteries, and an instruction manual. Now let me go ahead and show you a closer look at the individual parts. The first part up here is the fuselage. It's a real nice paint job and a pretty good representation of the Lucibel, which is Pappy Boyington's airplane. So we got Pappy Boyington flying the airplane. He's a pretty scale looking pilot, and the detail of him is real nice. All the decals are nicely applied. All the kill markings and everything look really neat on this airplane. As I flip this thing upside down, you can see the rudder and the elevator servos that are mounted, and the push rods are all run, and the servos are mounted inside wood, which is kind of nice. You can see the wing's going to plug in with a tongue up front, and in the back it's going to go in with a screw. So as I roll on down to the back here, a couple interesting things to note: that the rudder servos up here in the front of the fuselage, or the middle of the fuselage, it runs back here to steer the tail wheel, and this torque rod that actually fits into the rudder, and that's what gives you rudder control. And you can see the elevator linkage right here that you just insert and plug in, and it looks like there's probably a screw that holds everything on back here. Tail wheel doesn't retract, but it's kind of nice because it has this this spring compressor to give this thing some suspension. So you know, as you land, you have quite a bit of movement actually in this wheel, and the wheel itself is actually really rigid, so it should be good for operating off the grass, especially the grass that I fly off of. Even though it's smooth, I'm definitely going to get a lot of compression out of that for the rough surface. Anyway, as we move on towards the front, you can see here the battery compartment. And as I open this thing up, it has a real nice, as you can see here, a very slim latch. So nothing's sticking up really. You just kind of put your fingernail in there. So it's actually one of the more interesting latches I've seen. It's very low profile. Inside here, you can see the Tactic receiver that's already installed. It's already Velcroed in, and it's actually Velcroed in with a layer of foam tape for really just for a little bit of shock absorption in there. You can see the battery wire comes in here and plugs right into the battery. And you can change the connector or use the connector with the batteries that come along with it. Huge battery compartment. It looks like there's some nice cooling there. As we run along to the front of the cowling here, one thing I want to point out is the cooling that this thing has. If you see all the way around here, the aft section of the cooling, the cowl flaps, there's a hole back here that runs all the way around. This airplane actually cools the motor and the speed controller pretty much the way the real airplane cooled everything down. You can see up here there's the speed controller right here, the motor in here, and there's plenty of cooling that runs into the battery compartment. But also I noticed that the radial engine detail is really nice. In the picture it came out silver, but what I got in the box was gray, and the gray definitely looks much better. The silver looked kind of like it was out of place. But anyway, guys, overall, really fantastic detail and really high quality fuselage. The next part up is the main wing panel, and there's a lot of stuff to talk about with this. It's nice that this comes in one piece, so no gluing of wing halves together. This thing is really nice, really clean, and I kind of like some of the things they did with it. You can see here there's a single servo that runs a flexible wire that each one can be adjusted with this easy connector. But the flexible wire runs down the wing, it curves and goes to the aileron that I'll show you on the underside here a little later. But it's mounted into a real nice wood block. You can see the wiring harness here that has the single aileron wire right here for the single servo. It has the Y harness here, if I can get this thing off of here. This one here already installed for the retractable landing gear. That just plugs into channel 5. And then this other Y harness lead, which I believe is a little circuit board in here to control the wingtip strobes. Yeah, this airplane has fixed position lights, a red and a green, one red on one wing, one green on the other, and also a flashing wingtip. So you can see right here, I'll zoom in for you. This is the right side, which is green, but you got two lights in here, a steady green and a flashing strobe. So I can't wait to see how that looks. Hopefully I'll get some sort of dusk type shots for y'all in the flying video to take a look at. This should look really stellar at nighttime. Up front, you got the plastic plug-in that inserts, this is the tongue that inserts into the fuselage, you can see right back there. And also the single wing bolt back here, which actually screws right into the back of the fuselage here like we just saw. And that's what holds the wing in place. These right here are oil coolers, or simulated either oil coolers or liquid coolers. I'm not sure what the Corsair, whether it was liquid or whether it was oil cooled, but they put these coolers in here made out of plastic, and it really accurately represents and really kind of puts a nice scale detail to the front part of the wing of the airplane. As we flip this thing over, we'll take a look at the ailerons. Now, as I said, the wire actually for the aileron control runs across here, and it curves and goes right into here. This is a real clean design. It doesn't have a bulky servo sitting up here with a wire running to the center and nothing there that you really need to mess with. As you can see here, as I zoom in on this thing, you can see it's a foam hinge, but it also has some like plastic CA hinges, one there, there, and there. So it's a foam hinge, but it's also backed up with a sort of like a CA hinge in there. But anyway, real nice and clean the way that's installed. My favorite part about this wing is the retractable landing gear. They did such a nice job with these doors, and this all comes just the way you see it from the factory. The best way to make a plane fly well is to decrease the drag, and they've done it with this. This is probably one of the cleanest landing gear door setups I think I've seen, and I'm real anxious to see this thing operate. These are spring-loaded doors, so you can open these up. You can see the two springs at the bottom, and it just reveals the mechanism in there. It's a nice big tough wheel for taking off and landing on grass. And anyway, guys, probably this is about the cleanest Corsair underside of the wing I think I've seen. Definitely got to give top marks, A+ for the construction of this wing. Here's a close-up of the horizontal stabilizer. This thing is put together real nicely. Foam hinge all the way around. This whole tail section is actually glued on, so this thing is really prefabricated. There is a spar running through here, probably a carbon spar of some sort, and it's already painted over and it's real rigid, so it should perform really well. Also, the horn for it is not just on one side with a torque rod going across. It's right in the middle with a torque rod going to both sides, so you don't have to worry about one side going up or down more than the other. And they did put this into some sort of a plastic material or glued it in or something, but it's definitely in there with something solid. So anyway, guys, this is a real nice part. They did a nice job prefabricating it. Here's a quick look at the vertical stabilizer and the rudder. Real nice quality, finish is good. I did notice that as I began to flex it, it actually made a cracking sound, and you can see right here where the foam hinge broke. This is not really a big deal. This happens often with these foam airplanes. Right out of the box I get some that are like this, and real common thing. So what I usually do, I don't even bother calling where I got it from. I just take some welder glue that you can get over at Lowe's or Home Depot. I know Lowe's has it, and I'll just put some right along where the hinges, and then I'll just kind of put it together. I'll take a little bit like a thin painting brush, and I'll just sort of paint it along there and along this side, and I'll just make sure it all lines up nicely, and then just let it dry like that, and then flex it after it dries, and you'll have a nice bonded hinge again. I did make a separate video a while back on repairing foam hinges, and it talks about this very thing, and it's really a pretty simple thing, repairing a foam hinge, and in fact it usually ends up being tougher when you glue the whole thing together with the welder glue. Anyway, guys, overall real nice quality with the rudder. The last two items included with the airplane are the propeller and hub package here. You can see it's a looks like a 4mm collet drive with a prop drive, and you just slide this over the prop shaft of the motor shaft that's already installed on the airplane. You tighten this down, and then you have your scale spinner nut or prop hub that fits over here, and just gives it that sort of Corsair scale appearance. Also in the bag here is some Velcro for the battery, and they actually already attached this double-sided foam tape to the Velcro to give your battery a little bit of a cushion there. There's 3 screws. This is really the main wing screw, and I believe these other 2 are for the tail, and that will complete getting the whole model together. Last but not least, we have the instruction manual for the F4U Corsair, and as we flip this open, there's a Tx-R transmitter-ready flyer here included that shows you that you can fly this plane with virtually any transmitter. And as you flip this over, there's a nice graph here that's a compatibility chart that shows you with the AnyLink system, you can fly the plane on Futaba, Hi-Tech, JR, Spectrum, Tower Hobbies, and Grosvenor, and shows you a lot of the radios that this thing will fly with. On this side, it shows you the required cable that you need, and in many cases, with of course the newer radios, cable's already included with the AnyLink system. But some of them you may need an optional cable. So this chart sort of points that out for you and shows you which cables you may need. Real simple building, guys. Just a few bolts put this whole thing together. All the parts here, pretty much just like we looked at here, and adjusting your cables and your easy connectors and so forth to get everything running smoothly. As you flip through this, it'll even show you how to get the landing gear rolling and so forth. So real easy build, probably go together pretty quickly. And one of the more important things to note is the center of gravity. 2 7/8 inches aft of the leading edge, or 73 millimeters. And here you can see a guy balancing it on his fingers upside down. So once you get it flight ready, battery installed, you balance it right at those points, and if it balances, plane should fly just fine. Anyway, guys, that concludes this video on all the parts that are included with the select scale transmitter ready airplane from FlyZone. I'll put links at the end here for the other videos, because there is a flying video and a building guide where I actually will kind of talk you through this AnyLink system for getting it set up to fly this airplane. Anyway guys, once again, thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you next time.